Okay, well, we're going to turn right now back to metrology and back to Hexagon. Of course, we are here at Hexagon 2012 Think Forward, and we're going to be sitting down now with Angus Taylor. And Angus Taylor, of course, is the president and CEO of Hexagon Metrology North America. And Angus has been good enough to join us on the show here. And Angus and Dirk and I are going to be having an exchange about some of the interesting things that Hexagon Metrology is up to and what we can look forward to them coming up. So Angus, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.
Welcome. Thank you.
And thank you for hosting us at this great event, really.
You're very welcome.
We've had a great time. A lot of stuff going on here.
Oh yes, it's an event that it's the second year for metrology to participate in this event. It's historically came from Intergraph and then like a Geosystems, and then Hexagon Metrology is actively involved in this now, and I think it's a great type of event for the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very interesting for us to watch during the keynote just how all the different pieces tied together. I mean, we talked about that earlier in the show here a few minutes ago. It's very interesting to see how metrology and the software from the other organizations that are part of now of the Hexagon group, how all that information is just shared and across all platforms.
Well, I think the key point here is that Hexagon is a very, flat top organization, and we have the ability to be able to communicate very rapidly. We don't have a lot of hierarchy in the structure of the company, and that what that does, it really helps the organization flourish by sharing information much more rapidly than maybe some conventional type of business. So it's a different approach, and Hexagon has done an excellent job of being able to do this all around the world.
Right. Yep. Well, think forward. That's the theme. That's the theme of the show, and that's what all of the Hexagon divisions are really doing with their customers, is thinking about the future and thinking about how to use information and data to better manage their processes and to improve the world, let's be honest. So how does that apply to what Hexagon Metrology is up to?
Well, there's several ways that we are seeing some sort of changes, from our interaction with our customers, the way that we listen to the customer, we look at what their wants and needs are, and to give you, for example, inside the aircraft industry, they're changing materials from, say, aluminum type sort of materials over to carbon fiber. They don't necessarily know how it reacts to change, etc., as they go through the manufacturing process. And what we're doing is we're more actively involved further downstream in the manufacturing process, because by the time an aircraft component might go into an autoclave, it's maybe too late to do some rework. So we're working with our customers to make sure that we're more involved in their process. The other thing as well is what I believe is probably one of the most significant things, and certainly here from this particular conference, is the way that people will interact with software. Hexagon is a software company as well as many things, but from a software perspective, the way that people touch and touch that software, and how they manipulate data and use the data, because it's all about data. That's what our customers want, so they can take actions on that data. So we're very much involved in trying to develop the best type of interfaces, the best way to use and view data. So this is something. So thinking ahead, this is the way the world is going this way, and you and I can't change it. Neither can Hexagon. So we have to go with the way that the future will be and how people interact with software, for example.
That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of times people think about Hexagon Metrology and they think hardware. That's what primarily comes to mind, but really it's really about the software and what you can do with that data once you get into the software.
I think so, for sure, because going back historically, software was maybe a necessary evil on a piece of hardware, just that you had to do to provide numbers for a coordinate system, for example. And now software is really driving a lot of the sort of changes that are happening inside the manufacturing processes, and this is where we have a leading position with the ability inside of the scale of Hexagon to pull resources together to be able to make something as a change in the industry. So.
Right. Talk to me about Hexagon Metrology Services. That's an important part of your business, and it's an important part of the way that you connect to your users. As the sale happens and after the sale happens, and once they're a customer of yours.
Yes, Hexagon Metrology Services is a business that we formed to create a value proposition for the customer, allowing us to be able to supply people, equipment, rental equipment of like trackers, articulated arms, CMMs, etc. But also, more importantly than that, is the people. So we provide people that can do services, programming, operators, and the primary reason for doing this is when a business is going through a ramp-up stage, for example, an aircraft program or a new automotive launch or heavy equipment type companies, they don't necessarily want to have a large volume of people left at the end of the project, the program. They want to be able to ramp up that program, and then as they start to ramp it down and stabilize what they really need for the particular product manufacturing that they're going to manufacture, then that's what Hexagon Metrology does. We provide that service to be able to allow them to do that. It's like outsourcing these particular services to Hexagon.
And you bring them into your precision center as well. We were actually just out at your precision center in North Kingstown, Rhode Island, a couple months ago, and we saw classes, people coming in and learning a lot about the various options that Hexagon offers, both on the hardware and the software side.
Yes, we have 12 precision centers in North America, 2 of them in Mexico, the others are in North America. And from there we offer services, we do presentations, we do tech support, we do training is a very, very key critical component, is to train the workforce obviously to be able to use the products and get the most out of the value of the investment that they've just made.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about technology a little bit. I mean, one thing that I keep seeing every time I come to this show and other shows is contact versus non-contact sensing. Well, you've been around on this as long as I have. It used to be, well, if you wanted precision, you used contact. If you wanted lots of data and capture contours, and you didn't need as much precision, well, you use scanning. And it seems like that gap is slowly closing. I mean, where do you see the whole non-contact sensing going?
Okay. Historically, non-contact was used. People think of like printed circuit boards and very small prismatic sort of componentry. Maybe some medical device components. Right. The two parts of the probe and sensing business, from tactile and scanning solutions to inspection systems with non-contact, also scanning, non-contact. Those two have come together, and the business is really moving more towards a multi-sensor type of environment. Right. There's still applications, obviously, for either solution, but a lot of this technology is coming closer and closer together.
Do you see, and maybe I'm asking you to talk about something that is just too far in the future, but do you see non-contact or scanning sensing getting to the point where where contact is not needed anymore, where we just have the precision with scanning that we don't need contact sensing anymore?
No, I don't see it disappearing. I just see them coming closer together, and there will be some combinations that will fit for specific applications.
Okay.
You had a great press session yesterday that we were fortunate enough to sit in on and ask you some questions. There was a really interesting question that you fielded. I hope you can kind of revisit it here for our audience. We asked you, what do you consider the greatest threat to Hexagon Metrology in terms of the technology and the implementation of that? And you had a very interesting answer. Would you care to talk about that again?
Sure. The greatest threat that I see as a manufacturer here in North America, but obviously we're a global business, and the supply chain into whatever it is that we manufacture, and the ability for accessibility or availability to componentry that we use. So the life cycle of individual components that are used in some of our technology, whether it be a probe sensor or an encoder or whatever, the important thing here is understanding the life cycle and the availability of that, and certainly when we get to, say, some of the newer technologies, the pad tablet type interface, iPad, etc., how long they're available. It's the same problem that the automotive companies face, because the customer will use that type of touch environment inside of a vehicle. It's just a matter of time. So we have to move with understanding, with our development cycle of our products. The way we do this, we have to make sure that we're in sync with the development of all the components that we're going to use. So that's probably the largest threat that I would see.
For capital equipment manufacturers, this aspect of the lifetime of components, somebody told me once that this is really being has been impacted greatly by the huge growth in consumer electronics, where lifetime component life cycle isn't as big a consideration, yet that's the hugest market. So all the component manufacturers, I'm talking more electronic components, are so focused on the consumer market that it's getting harder and harder to get componentry that has the type of industrial or aerospace or military specs that used to be very common a long time ago. I mean, is this something that Hexagon experiences?
Well, for sure, whenever we design products, we've got to look for the availability of the products, and if you can use components that are, let's say, in frequent use somewhere in other industries or even in the consumer area, this is something that we have to look at and consider. It's natural because of product availability.
And price as well, I'm sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And this has changed so much. Gosh, I mean, this wasn't as much of an issue perhaps 5 or 10 or more years ago.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, it's changing very, very quickly in this world of ours. Again, getting back to this event, which is we've had such a good time and it's such an important part of what you do each year. The idea that you're going to share best practices and you're going to share that with your users when you're here. This is also an opportunity for you to share those best practices across the spectrum. I mean, Hexagon is a broad company with a lot of different people, a lot of different divisions. So how do you use this time now to get together and learn from your colleagues as well?
Well, exactly. This is one of the reasons for this event. This event is obviously for customers, it's for partners, resellers, etc. in the industry, and then also for the internal people inside of the Hexagon group. You know, it's nearly 13,000 people. It's a lot of people. Right. It's a way to have these people interact and exchange and network, etc. So this is something that's happening this week. Many different meetings that are going on for collaboration across the spectrum of products that exist within the family of Hexagon.
What has been one of the most surprising things for you with kind of the merger Hexagon getting Intergraph and some of these newer companies, MyVR, and as all this information starts to be used across the whole Hexagon company, what's kind of been the most surprising thing that's popped up out of doing that?
Well, we are a software business here.
Right.
At the end of the day, the frames that we have, the different types of equipment that are used to collect data, the different sensors, the end goal is to give data to somebody, and there's so many similarities when you see what is going on from let's say airborne sensors scanning over topography of the Earth versus going over a tool in Detroit in the automotive industry. There's a lot of similarities in the contours and form and shape, how you handle that kind of information. So you just mentioned MyVR. This is just a recent acquisition for Hexagon, and that's an exciting new platform that we can use for moving data very, very rapidly. So we see major benefits for our customers because of this connectivity that we have across the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
You used a great example of building a mine or a tunnel versus a stent, and how that's kind of there's similarities. I'd like to say the scope is a million times different, but
sure.
But essentially it's the same process.
Well, that is one example that came out from a software meeting where you bring together some of the mathematicians within the organization, and we're trying to measure a stent that goes into the human body, a very, very small component. And then you look and you do a comparative with measuring a tunnel that goes through the Swiss Alps, maybe a 30-kilometer tunnel. And they're both round, they're just different size, but the algorithms that could be used to measure the form and shape and accuracy of a component, or in this case a tunnel, it's something that until you bring companies together like this with the vision that Hexagon has, this is where you see the strategy come together and really benefit.
Right.
Well, we're here again next year, 2013. We're in the same place.
Wonderful.
We're looking forward to it. It's going to be. I'm curious because there's been so much new stuff just in the last year, since Orlando last year to this year. Yeah. And you think about what we're going to see next year in 2013. It's really, I'm looking forward to it already. So
wonderful.
Angus, thank you for joining us.
Okay.
We can go on this
Angus,
for an hour.
appreciate it, man.